Hello and welcome to Mystic Dog Mama, the podcast for soul-led dog mamas, where you'll discover how to best nourish your dog and yourself, mind, body, and soul. I'm your host, Dr. Alexia Meller, a holistic canine nutrition and well-being consultant and the co-creator of the F.E.T.C.H framework. Along with my incredible colleague Stacy Renfrey, my aim is to help you feel less overwhelmed and more confident in taking a holistic approach to your dog's health through integrating evidence-based nutrition with spiritual wisdom. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for a little March Minisodes series that I'm doing this entire month. Lucky and I are in the midst of moving, so for the month of March, I'll be sharing some shorter solo episodes with you that are related to some of my musings that I've been having lately, and hopefully these topics might be helpful to you. They're things that I've been spending some time thinking about and bringing together many of the different kinds of conversations that we have over here at Mystic Dog Mama about nourishing our dogs and ourselves. And perhaps it's offering a different kind of conversation related to how we put these puzzle pieces of health and nourishment together for ourselves. Once Lucky and I are properly settled, I'll update you all on what exciting new things we are up to and how little Luckykins is doing with the big changes. But until then, I hope you'll enjoy these little chats directly with you. And I apologize if you hear a fly buzzing around. I have not been able to get it out of the house. And poor little Lucky is hiding in his little carrier, which we refer to as his casita, because he is terrified of flies. But hey ho, so just apologize in advance. But on that note, let's go. So if you've been here with me for a while, you'll know that part of my practice involves animal communication. It's something I was always interested in, but then decided to just explore it for fun by taking some trainings and then offering lots of free practice sessions to kind of build my muscle with it. And now I actually integrate it into my canine nutrition and well-being work. And sure, it's kind of cool that people ask me to do a reading and are amazed, like, how did you do that? How did you know that? And spoiler alert, I didn't know it. The animal told me. But what I really love to use this skill set for is to dive deeper into understanding and uncovering what is going on for a dog in order to help put them on the right track to optimal health. That is so unbelievably exciting and fulfilling when we can uncover a missing piece that might give some insight or ask a question that the vet can maybe answer, or the chiropractor, or if there's something that kind of clues me into an emotion that might be linked to an imbalance in the body system. I mean, it's so magical. But the thing is, like I've said to you guys so many times before on the podcast, literally everyone is born with the ability to do this. Yes, you can do this. And this brings me to something that I was recently asked about, and that is what my thoughts are on the popular Telepathy Tapes podcast series. Have you guys listened to it? If you haven't listened to it, or if you aren't sure what it is, the Telepathy Tapes is an incredibly interesting and popular documentary-style podcast series by Kai Dickens that explores the phenomenon of telepathy within the community of non-speaking individuals with autism. Kai and her team connect with families, with educators, with researchers, with scientists, and other professionals to explore the uncannily common occurrence of telepathy within this community. Kai and her team actually conduct their own tests as well as interviews, and they explore research that's been done to better understand what's actually happening and to hear from these individuals who use different tools to voice their experiences with communication, whether that be through technology and consciousness. It's definitely worth listening to. But I was asked what I thought of it, so I thought I'd share my take on it and also ask you guys what your thoughts are. So first off, it's a super well done podcast, but I'm just going to focus on the topic itself of telepathy. And my short answer is I absolutely believe telepathy is not only possible, but it's something we naturally do without even recognizing it as such. So for me, it's part of our sixth sense that we all have. And that might show up with something like the thought of, oh, I need to give such and such a call. And then when you do, they say like, oh, I was just thinking about you. Or quote unquote, something tells you to turn right at the traffic light and you end up avoiding an accident. Or you just have like a gut feeling about something. This is why animal communication works, because we have the innate ability to sense energy, but most of us have been taught to just either prioritize logic and reasoning and mental activity over feelings and sensations, and to completely downplay anything that we might sense in this world. And for me, I tend to see and feel things more than hear things in words when I'm communicating with animals. I definitely do hear words, but they are always kind of accompanied by a feeling for me. And that'll be different for everybody, but for me, that's kind of how it shows up. I think it's important to remember that our current paradigm of science specifically takes a materialist approach, meaning that we only look at things from a material perspective, from how it shows up in matter, things that we can touch, hear, see, feel with our five senses. But that's only because our current paradigm is set up to value and measure that. That doesn't mean that other things don't exist. And I think that's an important point to remember when we're thinking about something like telepathy. We know that energy exists. We may not be able to see electricity, but we know it's working when we turn the lights on, right? There was actually a movie that was released, I think it was in 2020, called Superhuman: The Invisible Made Visible by a researcher named Caroline Corey, who researched and produced this film, where she interviewed people with extrasensory perception skills, including things like remote viewing or kids who can read books blindfolded or even like play table tennis blindfolded. She also talks to Tom Campbell from the Monroe Institute, which is renowned for being involved with the CIA Gateway Project, which was all about remote viewing, and other people. And the big takeaway from the film for me was that beyond the kind of fascination with how amazing it is to witness people perceiving things in extraordinary ways, and it really is amazing, it's definitely worth watching it. But I think the real takeaway is that we are all capable of doing that. It's not actually superhuman, it's human. And they talk about that in the film. And I think that these conversations offered by podcasts like the Telepathy Tapes and the Superhuman film are starting to normalize and make mainstream that very fact. Literally, the only thing standing in your way from experiencing these same phenomena is your belief about whether or not it's possible for you. Seriously, that is how powerful our beliefs are and our inner narratives are. They completely shape what we see and experience. But the great thing is we can change them. So I wanted to share a little exercise with you that I've found really useful for helping me to break free from my own limitations. And honestly, this is an ongoing exercise because I kind of feel like it's not like you get to the other side of limitations, like, oh, now I have no limitations. I think it's more like a kind of spiral experience that you come to different understandings of where we have been conditioned. And there's an invitation with each layer or each kind of spin around that spiral. There's an invitation to kind of go deeper into looking at these beliefs and how we then transform them. So I think I've actually mentioned this exercise before in either an early episode in the podcast or in the summer series that I did last year in 2024. I can't remember, but it bears repeating anyway. It comes from the book Psychic Witch by Matt Oren, which is filled with fantastic practical exercises to help you connect with your intuition and with your psychic senses. If the terms psychic and witch don't work for you, don't worry. Like it's still super, super valuable because it's just packed with different exercises. And I definitely recommend it. And although you're supposed to use it in a more chronological way to kind of build one lesson upon the next, I also think that if you skim through and just try some of the exercises that appeal to you the most, that's also a great way to start. It's how I started. I kind of have I can be really overwhelmed at times if I see that you're supposed to do so many exercises and you have to start right here. And some of them will appeal to you more than others. So I think I found it useful just to go with the ones that kind of stood out to me and I was excited to try, because I think that's part of it. You need to be excited to try some of this. So look through and see if there's something that particularly resonates with you and start there. But there's one lesson in particular that is super easy and fun to do. And that's why I wanted to share it with you. It's about how to see auras. So, auras are the energy fields that surround literally everything, and we can actually visually see them when we are open and attuned. So, Matt says the same thing that I did, that the first step to being able to see auras is to address your belief that you can't. But he does it in a really fun way. So, I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically, he suggests a whole fake it till you make it approach. And what you do is you go out in your normal life and you just tell yourself, like in your head, that person has an orange aura, or that person has a yellow aura, that dog has a turquoise aura, that plant has a blue aura. It doesn't matter that you can't see them and that you're making it up. The more you repeat that you're seeing auras, the more your brain will become open to actually perceiving them. And once you start having some evidence of extrasensory experiences, the more and more you become open and your ability to experience them expands. So when you turn it into play, like Matt suggests, you take the pressure off. Pressure and perfectionism are just debilitating. So making this exercise fun is going to be the key for your success to it. I am super interested to hear from you guys about your experiences with all things psychic. And have you listened to the Telepathy Tapes, or have you watched Superhuman? What exercises have you found useful for strengthening your psychic skills? What exercises have you found useful for strengthening your psychic skills? Let me know. You can DM me on Instagram at Mystic Dog Mama, leave a comment, or get in touch at mysticdogmama.com. And if you're interested in learning how to do a really simple energy work practice for you and your dog, grab our free F.E.T.C.H guide to energy work for you and your dog. I will go ahead and leave that link in the show notes. All right, until next time.